Hi guys, this is Sadek from Droidwin.com, and in this video, we'll show you how to download and install the Fastboot ROM onto your OnePlus phone. So what exactly is a Fastboot ROM and why is there a need for this ROM? Well, if your phone is currently in a soft brick or a bootloop state, then you could simply flash this Fastboot ROM in the Fastboot mode and get your device up and running. Likewise, if you are planning to do an OS upgrade but want to skip an OS upgrade in between. For instance, if you use the MSM tool, then it will take you back to Oxygen OS 11 based on Android 11. So after that, you will then have to install the Android 12 and Android 13 and Android 14 firmware, which will take quite a lot of time and network bandwidth. However, once you have used the MSM tool to get to Android 11, you could simply flash the Android 13 or 14 firmware, thereby skipping the Android 12 and incremental updates, and directly you will then reach the Android 13 or 14, whatever ROM you flash. So you could easily skip the in between OS updates if you want, and this will save quite a lot of time and efforts. So in my case, after I go back to the Oxygen OS 11, I always flash the Fastboot ROM to directly jump over to the latest available firmware, which saves quite a lot of time. Apart from that, if you are planning to do a downgrade, then the official downgrade firmware is always the recommended approach, but you may also use the Fastboot ROM to get this job done. For instance, if your phone is currently on Oxygen OS 14, then you may flash the downgrade firmware of Oxygen OS 13 or 12 to get the job done and do a downgrade, but it's not usually recommended and it might prove to be a risky approach, but still you may do a downgrade using the Fastboot ROM as well. Apart from that, if you are planning to root your phone via Magisk, then you may require the boot or the init.boot.img file. The general steps for that is that you have to extract the payload.bin file, but now you will not have to do any such thing as such, because you could easily get hold of the boot.img file or the init.boot file directly from the Fastboot ROM itself. Apart from that, if you want to disable DM verity checks, you could also get hold of the vbmeta.img file from the Fastboot ROM. There is no need to extract the bin file using Python or any such thing as such. So this brings us to the most important question: what exactly is a Fastboot ROM and how are they made? Well, OnePlus Fastboot ROM are exactly the official firmware which are released by OnePlus. You may download the official firmware from their site or any trusted site or the Oxygen Updater app. Once you have got the firmware from any of the site, the firmware usually looks like something like this. Let me show you once, just a minute. Once you download the firmware from the Oxygen Updater app or any such site, you will get a firmware in a zip file. Upon extracting the zip file, you will get a couple of files. As you could see, these are the files. And now what you have to do is, when you extract the bin file, so all the partition img and bin files are there inside this payload bin file. So upon extracting this bin file using a tool known as Fastboot Enhance, let me show you. If you load the payload bin file inside this Fastboot Enhance tool, it will bring up all the partition. And so a Fastboot ROM is nothing but if you select all these partition and click on extract image, so you will get an img or bin file of all these images which are there. So a Fastboot ROM is just a zip file of all these partition files and nothing else. So let me show you. This is a Fastboot ROM, for instance, for the OnePlus 9 Pro, and as you could see, it has all the img file in this folder and the bin file as well. So it has already done the extraction. You don't have to get hold of the bin file and extract the zip file or extract the payload bin file. All the extraction has been done on its own. So you might get hold of the official firmware, then load it to the Fastboot Enhance tool, then extract all the image, and the Fastboot ROM will be made. Well, not exactly. There is one major point missing, and that is the flashing instruction. In all of the Fastboot ROM, the developer also includes a batch file. It might be named as install.batch, update.batch, or upgrade.batch, firmware update.bat, anything as such, but there will be a batch file, and that batch file contains all the flashing commands. If you make your own Fastboot ROM, you may easily do so via this. Then you will get all the bin file, but you will not be able to flash the firmware because you don't know the flashing commands. The flashing has now become quite complicated. So even though you will be able to get hold of all these files, you don't know whether you have to flash these files in the Fastboot mode or the fastboot D mode. So this is where these fastboot ROM comes in handy. You don't have to worry anything as such. Simply launch the batch file and the installation will be done without any issues. So just a minute, let me show you a sample of a couple of files. For instance, this is the OnePlus 8T, and let me extract. So while it's being extracted, this is for the OnePlus 9 Pro. So different developers takes a different approach. For instance, this is for the OnePlus 11. In this, you just have a single batch file, and upon launching this batch file, it will automatically flash all these files. And that is the case with all the other, I guess, OnePlus 8 series as well. I'll show you that as well. It's being extracted. However, in some cases, they might take a slightly different approach, but you don't have to worry. You still have to use just a single file. For instance, in case of OnePlus 9 Pro, there is a clear bat, install bat, upgrade bat. So just a minute, I already have. So let me show you in case of OnePlus 8T. As you could see, it has a flash all bat file. So in this case, you just have to launch a single batch file and it will flash all the files on its own. Let me show you the content of this batch file. So as you could see, it has all the commands. First, it will format the data and then it will flash the files in the, it will then reboot your phone to fastboot D mode, then flash the files, then remove, resize it, logical partition, flash the partition and reboot to system. It will do on its own. So this is the major reason why we use the fastboot ROM, because we don't know the commands where we have to flash this file. So you just have to flash the batch file and it will get the job done. If you are or on the other hand, in case of OnePlus 9 Pro, as you could see, there are a couple of batch files: clear bat, install bat, upgrade bat. Well, in such cases, simply launch the install batch file and your job will be done. However, if you are still not sure, then you may open the batch file as well. So let me show you an interesting thing that is happening here. If you launch the install batch file over here and via the Notepad++, then as you could see, what it's doing is it's simply calling out the clear batch file and the upgrade batch file. So first it will call the clear batch file. As soon as you launch the install batch file, it will call this batch file, and this batch file will in turn remove all the data from your phone. That's just it. Once that is done, the flash all will then call the upgrade batch file, which is this one. And let me show you. The upgrade batch file will then they call the upgrade 1 batch file and the upgrade 2 batch file. So let's check out that. So this is the upgrade 1 batch file, which will flash a couple of files, and then it will call the upgrade 2 batch files, which will again flash the rest of the files, and your task then stands complete. All in all, still you only have to open the install.batch file and the rest of the files will be called on its own. You don't have to worry about that. So the major benefit and advantage of using a fastboot ROM is that it comes pre-installed or pre-packed with the command file. You just have to launch the batch file and it will be flashed on its own. So with this, you have got a decent idea regarding how these ROMs are made. Now, who made this ROM? Well, these are made mostly by the XDA senior members and developers. You can get hold of their names. I will show you that as well. And now this is the repo of all the OnePlus phones and their fastboot ROMs. For instance, for the OnePlus 7, it's Android 9 and 10, then OnePlus 7T, Android 10. From here, you may download the ROM file, and if you go to a link, the link are for the SourceForge, and you will see their names. For example, developed by Penguin US. So he is the developer and he has done all the work for this ROM. So all the credit and thanks goes to him. In some cases, let me show you. If you open for the OnePlus 7T, then the developer name could be shown here. Moreno Froyo, you might very well be aware by him. He is the one behind the MSM tool for various OnePlus phones. So all thanks goes to him for the fastboot ROMs. So these are the fastboot ROM which you could get hold of. You may also make your own fastboot ROM, but then you will have to also get hold of the flashing command. You may use the flashing command of these files as well, but just make sure that the Android versions are the same, because the flashing command will not work on different Android versions. So if you have got hold of a OnePlus 9 Pro fastboot ROM, but you want to flash a fastboot ROM of different version, just make sure they are on the same Oxygen OS version. Then you may use the install all batch file and the rest of the command will be same. But if you are flashing a different Oxygen OS firmware, for example 12 or 13, then this batch file will not work for that version. So you will then have to make your own batch file. So as of now, only these are the Android versions available for your phone. In case of, as you could see, in case of OnePlus 9, we only have the Android 11. There is no Android 12 or 13. As and when it goes live, I will update this section. So with that said, let's now come to the most important part of this guide regarding how you could flash the OnePlus Fastboot ROM. So please take a backup of all the data on your phone if that is possible. And then let's get started. First off, you will have to get hold of the Android SDK platform tools. So get it from here and extract them onto your PC. You can extract them anywhere you want. In my case, I have done the extraction in C drive, and as you could see, these are the files of platform tools. So moving on, your next course of action is to enable USB debugging and OEM unlocking. USB debugging is required to execute ADB command, whereas OEM unlocking is required to unlock the bootloader on your phone. So let's now carry out both this task. Do note that these steps are only for those phones which could access the OS. If you cannot access the OS, then I'll show you how to do that as well. Let's first show you these steps. So go to settings menu, then go to about device, go to version, tap on build number 7 times. You will get a prompt that you are now in developer mode. Now go back, again go back, go to additional settings, and you should now see developer option. So go there and then enable the toggle next to OEM unlocking. Let me show you. Next to OEM unlocking as well as USB debugging, you will get a prompt on your phone. Tap on OK. You might get an RC key prompt as well. Tap on allow. And with this, debugging is now enabled. Along the same line, I'll also recommend you to change the USB UI transferring from charging only to file transfer. This is also required. Once you have done so, debugging will be enabled. Let's verify the same. So go to platform tool folder address bar, type in CMD and hit enter. This will launch command prompt inside platform tools. Now type in ADB devices and hit enter, and make sure that you are getting a serial ID. If you're not getting any ID, then unplug and replug your phone from the PC. Disable and re-enable USB debugging. Tap on revoke USB debugging. Use the official cable that came with your phone and use the USB 2.0 port on your PC. So carry out this USB tweaks and make sure that you are getting an ID. Once you're getting this ID, your next course of action is to unlock the bootloader on your phone. Do note that doing so will wipe off all the data, and it might make the warranty null and void as well. If that's well and good, you could refer to my guide and the video and get this job done. In short, you have to boot your phone to fastboot mode via ADB reboot bootloader command, and then use the fastboot flashing unlock command. After that, use the volume keys to highlight unlock the bootloader and press the power key to confirm. With this, the bootloader will be unlocked and you will be taken to the OS. So make sure to re-enable USB debugging as well once again, and then move ahead with the next step. So now you will have to boot your phone to fastboot mode. So open CMD window and type in ADB reboot bootloader and hit enter, and your phone should now boot into the fastboot mode. However, if your phone is currently stuck in a soft brick or a boot loop state, then in that case you will have to take help of the hardware key combination. This usually varies depending on the phone that you own, but in most cases you will have to press and hold the power and volume down key for around 8 to 10 seconds, and your phone should then boot into the fastboot mode. Once it's in that mode, you should also verify that the device state is shown as unlocked. This signifies that the bootloader has been unlocked and you could not move ahead. So now type in fastboot devices and hit enter, and make sure that you are getting a serial ID. If you are not getting any ID, then you will have to install fastboot drivers. I have made a separate guide and a video on the same. You could refer to my guide and install these drivers. Once you have installed the drivers, right click on the Windows icon and choose Device Manager. Then expand the Android phone section and make sure your phone is being shown as Android bootloader interface. So this, as well as the serial ID next to fastboot, signifies that your PC is able to read the phone in fastboot mode, and we are now good to go ahead. So now you can flash the fastboot ROM onto your phone. So make sure to get hold of the ROM file from here. It's always recommended to get hold of the latest firmware, latest ROM file. So for instance, let me show you. As of now, you could verify the same from the upload date. As you could see, it's not sorted by the date as of now, so just make sure to sort by date. And moreover, there are two versions as well as the region. You should verify the region beforehand. For the region India IN, it will be LE2121, For the rest of the region, you may confirm online. I'm not quite sure, but for India, you have to use LE 2121. Likewise, make sure to use the Oxygen OS if you're using the global firmware or the EU or NA. And if you are in China, then you could use the Color OS. For that, it will be named as something COS, as you could see from here. So make sure to check out the upload date as well and get hold of the latest firmware. Once you have got the firmware, it will be in a 7-zip format. So you will have to extract them onto your PC. For extracting, you could use a software known as 7-zip, and then simply right click on it and then select. So this is the 7-zip. So right click on it and choose. Let me show you. Show more option, and now select 7-zip and extract to, and the name file. It will extract all the files, and you will get the partition files over here. Depending on the ROM that you are using, you may have just a single batch file or multiple batch file. That does not matter. You will just have to launch the batch file, which would be named as install.batch or update.batch, upgrade.batch, something along the similar lines, or flash all.bat. So in case of OnePlus 9 Pro, which I am using, I have to launch the install.batch file. So just double click to launch this file, and depending on the phone, you might be asked a few questions. So simply reply in yes or no using the Y and N. So in my case, I am asking a question that if I want to root or not. So I don't want to root, I am typing N. So these questions will not be there across all the phones, but you might get some additional question. Simply reply by using Y and N. And these questions are not compulsory. In some cases, there might not be any question whatsoever. Moreover, while flashing, the initial few files will be flashed in the fastboot mode, but after that, the rest of the files will be flashed in the fastboot D mode, and your phone should automatically reboot into the fastboot D mode as well. So let's just wait for a few more seconds and I'll show you that, and then we could wait for the flashing to complete. So the few files such as the boot, DTBO and modem are flashed in the fastboot mode, and after that it will wait for a few seconds and your phone will then automatically reboot into the fastboot D mode, and the rest of the logical partition will then be resized and removed and then remade via the flash all batch file itself. You don't have to interact with the phone while the flashing is going on, or else it might lead to an issue. So as you could see, my phone is now booting into the fastboot D mode, and from here the rest of the flashing will go on. So let's just verify the same, whether that happens or not, and then we could wait for a few more minutes. And as you could see, the flashing has now started and our phone is now in the fastboot D mode. So regarding this, do keep in mind that in some cases you might get a few error messages as well. So please don't worry, it's completely normal. You should not stop the flashing. These error messages are just false positive and nothing to worry about. These usually happens right after it's booted to the fastboot D mode. So simply ignore these messages and don't interact with your phone, and let the rest of the flashing go on. Your phone will automatically boot to the OS, and if it does not happen, then it will ask you a question. You have to type in Y and it will then boot to the OS. Moreover, if you are flashing over the stock firmware, the flashing is usually faster, but if you are coming from a custom ROM, the flashing could take some additional time. In my case, the flashing will usually take around 12 to 15 minutes. So let's just wait for the time frame. So guys, the flashing is now complete. In my case, I am simply being asked if I want to reboot to the system or not. So since the flashing is complete, I will type in Y and my phone should now boot into the OS. On some phones, the flash all bat command might not have this question and your phone should automatically boot to the OS in those cases. Anyways, let's just wait and verify if our phone boots to the OS or not. If that happens, then the flashing is done successfully and we could then move ahead. So as you could see, our phone is now booting to the OS. So this signifies that we have flashed the fastboot ROM. Now once that is done, now the last step is that you have to flash the firmware. It's not compulsory, rather it's optional, but it's usually recommended that you flash the firmware. This is done just to make sure that the same data has been populated across both the slots, the active and inactive. But still, if you want, you may skip it, but I will recommend you to flash the firmware. So regarding flashing the firmware, I made a separate video, but just to show you that as well. So you'll have to extract SDK platform tools, enable USB debugging and OEM unlocking, which you have already done. Unlock the bootloader is also done. So now you will have to then get hold of the fastboot ROM, or rather the firmware zip file, which correspond to the same firmware which is currently installed onto your phone. Do not download the latest firmware, rather download the same firmware which is there onto your phone. For example, if you have just flashed the fastboot ROM of OnePlus 9, then you will have to download the firmware which correspond to the Android 11 and not Android 14. For example, in case of OnePlus 9, if you go there, you will have the Android 14 firmware as well, but you will not have to go there, rather go to the Android 11 folder and download the firmware which correspond to your region. IN is for India, EU is for European, and NA is for North America. So you may get hold of the firmware which correspond to your region, and once you have got the firmware file, you will then have to boot your phone to the TWRP recovery. You may get hold of the recovery file from my guide, and I have made a separate guide on how you could install the recovery on any Android phone. In short, first verify if your phone has a recovery partition or not using these three commands. If your phone has a recovery partition, then you may use the fastboot flash recovery command if you want to permanently flash the recovery, or simply use the fastboot boot recovery.img command to boot your phone to the TWRP recovery for one-time usage. This will boot your phone to the TWRP recovery. Once that happens, you may simply flash the firmware zip file from here, just as you flash any normal zip file. So flash the zip file, and with this, the firmware will be flashed onto your phone. Once that is done, simply select reboot system, and your phone will now boot to the OS. And with this, we will be double sure that both the slots now have the latest Oxygen OS firmware across both the slots. But again, simply flashing the fastboot ROM will also get the job done. It's just to be on a double sure that we are flashing the firmware. So please, if you're planning to do the same, you may do so right now itself, especially if you are planning to flash a custom ROM. Then flash the firmware. I made a separate guide and a video on the same. You could refer to this guide and the video and flash the firmware. So guys, on that note, I round up this video. If you have any queries, do let me know in the comment section, and thanks a lot for watching.